Welcome back to the deep dive. It seems like AI is everywhere these days, Every headline is screaming about it. But today we're going to zoom in and take a closer look at the investment opportunities in this AI sector, that's booming. Think of this as like a cheat sheet to understand which companies are really truly shaping the future of AI, not just, riding that wave of hype. Our source today is an article from the Motley Fool. And, they're pretty well known for their financial advice, right? And what's really cool is that in this article, the author actually tells us about 7 AI stocks that he personally invested in. So, he's putting his money where his mouth is, which I always appreciate. And the article, it jumps right in, doesn't waste any time. It talks about how Grandview Research, they're projecting this huge growth in the AI market. Like going from, get this, $196.6 billion this year to, wait for it, $1.8 trillion by 2030. That's just like 7 years from now. That's mind-blowing. And it's not just, some analyst fantasy. The article actually highlights that 73% of US companies have already integrated AI into their operations already, and almost half of them are actually considering AI as an alternative to hiring new people.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating about this is, we're not just talking about replacing factory workers with robots, right?
Hmm.
We're talking about AI creeping into like every corner of the business world. I mean, think about it. Automating customer service, crunching data for marketing decisions. This is like a massive shift, and it's going to have huge implications for, how we work, who's in control, who really holds the reins of economic power.
Okay, so this is big, right? We're not just talking about picking stocks here. We're talking about understanding a major, economic shift. So the first company on our list is one that, probably rings a bell, Nvidia. I mean, they're practically synonymous with, the AI boom at this point.
Right. And that's because their GPUs, those powerful processing units, they were originally designed for gaming. But now they're the engine behind, training these large language models that power all these tools we're using, like the ChatGPT. And their stock, I mean, it's skyrocketed, like 176% this year alone. So it's clear that investors are, they're betting big on Nvidia, betting big on their continued dominance. But, the real question is, can they maintain this lead? The market's getting more competitive all the time.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Like 176% gain. That's amazing. But, what happens if some other company comes out of nowhere with a better chip? What should investors really be paying attention to?
So one thing to keep in mind is that, the NVIDIA's success, it's not just about their hardware, it's also about their software. Like, they've built this whole ecosystem.
Right.
Tools, libraries, specifically for AI development. And that makes it a lot easier for companies to, adopt their platform. So it's not just raw processing power, it's the whole package.
That makes sense, yeah. So now let's move on to a company that, maybe not everyone's familiar with, SoundHound AI. Their name always makes me think of those dog whistle apps.
It's funny you should say that because you've probably already used SoundHound's tech without even realizing it.
Yeah.
They're actually the brains behind the voice AI in a lot of things you use, like Mercedes-Benz, Hyundai, even MasterCard.
Wow, really? So they're not just some small niche player.
Definitely not. And what's really smart is they've been moving away from having just one huge customer.
Yeah.
And diversifying their portfolio, which is, a good move for stability in the long run. In fact, their revenue from their biggest customer, it actually dropped from 72% to just 12% year over year. And that's because of this diversification strategy. And that's actually helped their stock surge a whopping 259% this year.
Wow, that's a pretty big turnaround. So it sounds like they're thinking ahead, right? Finding new ways to use their voice AI tech.
Exactly. They're branching out. They're getting into healthcare, where voice AI can be used for things like patient intake, scheduling appointments. That adaptability makes them a company to watch, definitely, especially as more and more businesses start using voice interfaces.
All right, so we've got the powerhouse, NVIDIA, and the up-and-comer SoundHound. Now, what about a company that's, actually using AI to, dig into data and find insights? That's where Palantir comes in, right?
Yeah, Palantir is really interesting because they work with both government and enterprise clients, and they help them make sense of these huge amounts of data. Think of them as data detectives, uncovering hidden patterns and connections that, nobody else can see.
And their stock, it's gone up an incredible 282% this year. So investors are clearly excited about them. What's driving all that enthusiasm?
Well, they're right at the intersection of public and private sectors, which means they have access to a ton of data, which is essential for training these powerful AI models. And they're also getting a reputation for developing these AI solutions that can be applied across different industries.
So they're not just stuck in like one little niche.
Exactly. They're doing fraud detection, supply chain optimization,
Yeah.
even predicting maintenance needs for critical infrastructure. That broad applicability makes them pretty appealing as an investment, even if their close ties to government agencies might raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The access to all that sensitive data is what makes them valuable, but it also comes with a lot of scrutiny.
Absolutely. And as investors, it's important to weigh those risks against the potential rewards.
Okay, so far we've got the brains, Nvidia, the voice, SoundHound, and the data detective, Palantir. Now, let's talk about the company that's literally building the foundation for all this AI magic. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC.
TSMC is, they're absolutely crucial to this whole AI ecosystem. They manufacture the most advanced chips in the world, the ones that power all these incredible AI applications we're talking about. They're so dominant that they control like over 90% of the market for advanced semiconductor manufacturing.
That's incredible. The article mentions they're investing a massive, $40 billion in fabrication plants in Arizona. That's a huge commitment.
It really is.
Right.
And it shows you the global scale of this AI impact
Yeah.
and, how strategically important chip manufacturing is. But TSMC's dominance in this, it also has geopolitical implications, especially with all the tension between China and Taiwan. Control over this kind of critical technology is a major point of leverage on the global stage.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. And their stock is reflecting all of this with a gain of 76.7% this year.
It's a good reminder that the companies behind the scenes,
Yeah.
the ones actually building the infrastructure for AI,
Yeah.
they're just as important as the companies developing all the flashy new applications.
Yeah. So you're saying we shouldn't just chase the hype, but look for those companies that are, quietly laying the groundwork for the AI revolution.
Exactly. They might not always be the most, exciting investments, but they're often the most reliable. And that brings us to a company that, might not immediately come to mind when you think AI. Lockheed Martin.
Wait, Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor, what do they have to do with AI?
Yeah, you might know them better for fighter jets and missiles. But they're actually quietly integrating AI into their systems and processes, bringing AI to the battlefield, so to speak. Think autonomous drones, AI-powered threat detection, even tools to help with logistics and decision-making.
So they're kind of like the stealth AI player.
In a way, yeah. Their stock gain's been more modest, just 15% this year. But the article points out how they're using AI tools across their entire workforce. And that could lead to, big efficiency gains and innovation in defense technology.
That makes sense. But does this mean that, robots are going to be fighting our wars in the future?
It's a complex issue, definitely. The role of AI in warfare is still evolving, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so we've seen how AI is shaking things up in the tech world, automotive industry, data analysis, even defense. But there's one more sector that's ripe for disruption: finance. And leading the charge is, well, JP Morgan Chase.
JP Morgan's not just, dipping their toes in the water here. They're going all in on AI. They actually have more AI researchers and developers focused on financial technology than their top competitors combined.
Wow, they're serious about this. Their stock's up 46.9% this year, so investors seem to be on board with their vision.
What's interesting is they're not just using AI to, improve their existing processes. They're aiming to lead in financial technology innovation, developing new products and services powered by AI. And that could really disrupt the traditional banking landscape.
So they're trying to become like the AI-powered bank of the future.
Exactly. Think personalized financial advice, AI-driven fraud detection, even automated investment management.
That sounds, pretty futuristic. But are there any risks, to putting so much faith in AI? What happens if the algorithms go haywire or the data gets corrupted?
Those are all valid concerns, definitely. As AI gets more and more embedded in our financial systems, we need to be very careful about security and oversight.
It seems like there's a lot to think about. So far, we've seen how AI is influencing everything from, making chips to battlefield tactics, even how we manage our money. It's pretty mind-blowing. But there's one more player we need to talk about, one that's known for, well, shaking things up: Apple.
Yeah, it's interesting how Apple's taken a more, I guess you could say, measured approach to AI. Compared to some of these other companies. They just recently entered the race, with Apple Intelligence and iOS 18.1. But their initial focus seems to be on, making things more productive, improving the user experience, rather than, making these big pronouncements about the future of AI.
Well, their stock has gained a respectable 22% this year. And part of that's probably because of this AI push. But what's really interesting is how they're rolling it out. Starting with, the high-end iPhones in the US, it's a very deliberate, controlled rollout, almost like they're, testing the waters.
That's classic Apple, right? They're known for their, meticulous approach to product development and their ability to create these really seamless user experiences.
And they've got this huge user base, right? Like over 2 billion active devices. So if they play their cards right, they could integrate AI into like a huge number of people's lives.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole AI revolution so fascinating. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how that technology is going to reshape industries, economies, and, societies in these really profound ways.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap our heads around. We've gone from exploring individual stocks to like grappling with the implications of AI on a global scale. So where do we even go from here?
Well, I think it's easy to get caught up in the hype, right? But it's important to remember that AI is still, in its early stages. We're just beginning to understand its potential. And there are a lot of challenges and unknowns ahead.
That's a good point. We've talked about these 7 companies, they're leading the charge. But what about the bigger picture? How is AI going to affect the average person, not just investors and these big tech giants?
That's where things get really interesting. We're already seeing AI kind of creeping into our everyday lives in these subtle ways. Like, think about those personalized recommendations you get on streaming services, or the spam filters that keep your inbox from overflowing. Those are all powered by AI, working behind the scenes, making our lives easier, more efficient.
I never really thought about it that way. It's become so integrated, we don't even notice it anymore.
Exactly. And as AI technology gets more advanced, we can expect even more integration, more personalization. I mean, imagine a world where your refrigerator orders groceries for you before you run out, or your car navigates traffic on its own, or your doctor uses AI-powered diagnostics to give you more accurate, personalized healthcare. Those might sound like, futuristic fantasies, but they're closer than we think.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But what about the potential downsides? We've talked about some of the ethical concerns, especially with companies like Palantir that have access to so much sensitive data. Are there other risks we should be thinking about?
One of the big ones is, the potential for job displacement. As AI gets more sophisticated, it can automate a lot of tasks that humans currently do, like driving trucks, analyzing legal documents. And this could lead to significant job losses in certain sectors, which is a real concern for policymakers and workers.
That's a scary thought. Are we all going to be replaced by robots? It's not quite that simple. While some jobs will definitely be lost, AI is also going to create new opportunities. We'll need people to design, build, maintain, and regulate these AI systems. And as AI takes over the more routine tasks, it could free us up to focus on more creative, more fulfilling work.
So it's not all doom and gloom. There's potential for positive change, too.
Absolutely. It's all about how we adapt and prepare for this new reality. Education and training are going to be more important than ever. We need to equip people with the skills they need to thrive in an AI-driven economy.
You're right. It's not about being afraid of AI. It's about understanding its potential and figuring out how to use it for good.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to explore both the opportunities and the challenges that AI presents. We need to be thoughtful and proactive in shaping this technology's trajectory.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from analyzing specific stocks to discussing AI's impact on a global scale. It's clear that this is way more than just a tech trend. It's a fundamental shift that's going to affect every part of our lives. It's a truly transformative force. And while there are definitely risks involved, there's also enormous potential for positive change. It's an exciting time to be alive, to witness this technological revolution unfold.
I completely agree. But I'm curious, what are some practical steps that, everyday people can take to prepare for this AI-powered future? What skills should we be developing? What kind of mindset should we have?
That's a great question. One of the most important things is to be adaptable, to be lifelong learners. The skills that are in high demand today might be obsolete tomorrow. So we need to constantly be learning and evolving.
So we need to be comfortable with change, embrace the unknown.
Exactly. It's also important to develop those critical thinking skills, to be able to evaluate information, figure out what's true and what's not. The world's going to be flooded with AI-generated content. and we need to be able to navigate that landscape wisely.
That makes sense. We need to be savvy consumers of information, not just passive recipients.
Absolutely. And I also think it's important to cultivate a sense of curiosity, a sense of wonder. This AI revolution is going to bring incredible innovations and discoveries. We should approach this new era with a sense of excitement and a willingness to explore the possibilities.
You know, that's a really refreshing perspective. It's easy to get caught up in the anxieties, the uncertainties. But there's also this sense of awe, of possibility that we shouldn't lose sight of.
Exactly. This is a chance to rethink how we work, how we live, how we interact with the world around us. It's a time for bold ideas, creative solutions.
You've mentioned adaptability, critical thinking. Are there any specific skills or areas of knowledge that you think will be especially valuable in an AI-driven world?
Well, data literacy is going to be essential. We're going to be surrounded by data, and we need to be able to understand it, interpret it, and use it to make informed decisions.
So everyone needs to become a data scientist.
Not necessarily, but we all need to have a basic understanding of data analysis and how to extract meaningful insights from data.
That makes sense. What else?
Creativity and problem-solving skills are going to be more important than ever. AI can automate routine tasks, but it can't replicate human ingenuity. It can't think outside the box like we can.
So we need to be able to do what AI can't.
Exactly. We need to focus on those things that make us uniquely human. Our creativity, our empathy, our ability to connect with others on a deeper level.
That's a great point. It's not about competing with AI. It's about complementing it, finding ways to work together to create something really remarkable.
Precisely. We need to embrace this idea of human-AI collaboration, where each brings its unique strengths to the table.
So it's not about replacing humans with machines. It's about augmenting human capabilities with AI.
Exactly. AI can help us to be more efficient, more productive, more informed, but it's up to us to harness that power responsibly, ethically.
This conversation has really shifted my perspective. I'm starting to see AI not as a threat, but as a tool, a partner in shaping the future.
That's the key. It's all about how we choose to use it.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture, the potential for disruption and opportunity. But let's bring it back to those companies we discussed earlier. Given everything we've learned, is there anything you would add or revise about your assessment of those 7 AI stocks?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that investing in AI is a long game. The companies that are leading today might not be the winners tomorrow. This AI landscape is constantly changing, and there will be new players, new technologies emerging all the time.
So we shouldn't just blindly follow the hype.
Exactly. It's about doing your research, understanding the companies, their strategies, the broader market dynamics.
And being adaptable, willing to adjust your investment strategy as the AI landscape changes.
Absolutely. The key is to stay informed, stay curious, and be open to new possibilities. This AI revolution is just beginning, and the next few years are going to be incredibly exciting.
I'm definitely feeling more informed and, honestly, a lot more optimistic about the future of AI. Thanks for sharing your insights.
You're welcome. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's one more topic I wanted to touch on before we wrap up. We've talked a lot about the companies, the big players in this AI revolution. But I'm curious about the everyday person. How is AI going to impact our lives? Not just at work, but at home, our relationships, even our leisure time.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
We're already seeing AI kind of sneaking into our daily lives in these subtle ways you might not even notice. Think about those personalized recommendations you get on Spotify or Netflix, right? Or when you're shopping online. Or even those smart assistants we have in our homes now, the ones that can answer questions, control our lights, our thermostats, all that. Those are all powered by AI, working behind the scenes.
It's true. I never even thought about it like that. It's become so, seamless. We just don't even realize it's there half the time.
Exactly. And as AI technology keeps getting more advanced, we can expect even more of that. More integration, more personalization. I mean, imagine a world where your fridge orders groceries for you before you run out.
Mm-hmm.
Or your car just drives itself through traffic. Or your doctor uses AI to, diagnose you more accurately. It sounds kind of like sci-fi, but it's closer than we think.
That does sound pretty amazing. But are there any downsides to all this? I mean, are there risks to having AI so deeply embedded in our lives?
Well, there are always risks with new technology,
Yeah.
right? One concern is privacy. As AI systems collect more and more data about us, there's always the risk that that data could be misused or fall into the wrong hands.
So data security, privacy, that's going to be even more important than it is now.
Absolutely. We need strong regulations, safeguards in place to protect our personal information. And we also need to be aware of the potential for AI to be used,
Yeah.
for bad things like creating deep fakes, spreading misinformation.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. It feels like we're at this crossroads, right? With
Hmm.
incredible potential on one side and some serious risks on the other.
That's a good way to put it. The choices we make today about how we develop AI, how we use it, those choices are going to have big consequences down the road. We need to approach this technology carefully, but also with, a sense of optimism, understanding both the good and the bad.
This deep dive has been, really eye-opening. We've gone from talking about stocks to, the potential for AI to change the entire world. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But I hope this conversation has, made you think about AI, maybe even gotten you a little excited about the possibilities, but also aware of the challenges.
Absolutely. And this is something we'll definitely keep talking about on the show as the AI landscape keeps changing. So thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning. We've talked about these companies leading the AI charge, but what about us, regular people? How's AI going to touch our lives? Not just work, but, our homes, how we connect with people, even just relaxing, having fun.
That's where it gets really interesting. We're already seeing AI kind of slip into our everyday,
Yeah.
in ways we don't even think about.
Yeah.
Remember those recommendations you get on Spotify, Netflix when you're shopping?
Yeah, totally.
Or those smart assistants, in our houses now, answering questions, turning on lights, the thermostat, all that.
Right. I hadn't even thought of that as AI, really. It's become so normal, just blends right in.
Exactly. And the more AI tech improves, the more it's going to be everywhere, personalized just for us.
Hey.
Picture this. Your fridge, it just orders groceries before you run out. Your car, it drives itself through traffic, no stress.
Yeah.
And your doctor, they use AI to figure out exactly what's wrong, way more accurate, personalized treatment.
Okay, that does sound kind of futuristic, but cool. But isn't there a downside to all this? What about the risks of having AI in, every part of our lives?
Well, any new tech comes with risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
One big one is privacy. The more these AI systems learn about us, the more data they gather. Someone could misuse that, or it could fall into the wrong hands.
So data security, keeping our info private, that's going to be huge.
Huge. We need strong rules, safeguards to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And got to be aware that AI could be used for bad stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like making those deep fakes, spreading fake news, all that.
Yeah, a lot to think about. It's we're standing at this, I don't know, like a fork in the road, right? Incredible potential one way, some serious risks the other way.
I like that analogy. The decisions we're making right now about AI, they're going to have huge effects later on. We've got to be careful, but also optimistic,
Yeah.
See both the good and the bad clearly.
Yeah. This whole deep dive, it's been, I don't even know the word, eye-opening. We went from looking at stocks to AI changing the world. It's a lot to wrap my head around.
It really is. But
Yeah.
I hope, it's gotten you thinking about AI, asking questions, maybe even a little excited about what's coming, but also knowing the challenges we got to face.
For sure. And this is something we're going to keep exploring on the show, as this whole AI landscape keeps changing. But for now, thanks for joining us on this journey into artificial intelligence. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.